Extra time, of course. And then it's the lap of honour.
Phew. Exhausted but happy, the victors will return here.
Then it's that delirious mixture of hot water and cold champagne. They'll be over the moon at the end of the day.
Hello.
Hello, where's the countdown? Oh, that's caught me right out. That's not a good start, is it? Where's the countdown?
10,
right,
9.
Okay, completely caught out there. Lucky I weren't doing anything rather silly. But anyway, right, folks, normally we bring people on with an intro. Normally we're ready. We're not today. This may be because one of our team has been struck down, like most football clubs, with COVID, and he has been rather poorly. Poor Simon and his good lady Vicky both had a really bad week. So Simon, whilst he's helping us with the technical stuff and not doing a great job at it, I have to say at the moment, we wish him and Vicky all the best and a speedy recovery. Dan also suffering from COVID and isolating there in his man shack. But feeling rather better than what Simon is. So what have we got in store for you on today's show? Right. Well, I think the Eagle has landed part 2 is the show, because we're going to be full of Palace fans. I mean Palace, sorry.
Behave yourself. leave it, Mike. Leave it.
So I'm going to introduce you to Mike shortly. Normally he wouldn't be quite on just yet, but anyway. But what have we got in store? So I'm going to introduce you to Mike Howe very, very shortly. Massively interesting history Mike has got, and a massive Palace fan. So I will introduce you shortly, but just to let you know, we are going to be talking about, of course, as the intro showed everybody, FA Cup weekend. So we're going to talk a lot about the FA Cup, where it is memories and all sorts. I love the FA Cup. I know it isn't what it is, but we'll talk more about that. We're also going to talk policing in football. We're going to talk safe standing. I call it safe seats. It's a load of rubbish. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later as well. And anything relevant. Just before we kick off, I just want to pump up next week's show. I've got Gary Clark on, a.k.a. Boatsy from Nottingham Forest, who is massively getting behind his local club. And it's going to be an amazing show, because what this chap is doing to support his local club, which is Colton Town FC, is amazing. So I'm going to big that one up. I'll just chat about that a little bit later as well. But if you want to have a look into Colton FC, have a look. It's coltontownfc.co.uk. Have a look. Great website. They currently play in the Northern Premier Leagues. An amazing chairman who I've spoke to and done a radio interview in the past with. But what Gary and the team up there are doing for charity, for how they get the community involved, is amazing. So that's next week's show. Don't forget, it's 8 o'clock from next week, not 7. We did move it to 7 to accommodate a game which has been now called off, which was Liverpool and the Arsenal. Right, okay, without further ado, let's bring in Dan. Oh, you're already there, mate. Forgot.
Hang on.
How you been? How's your week been? I know you got COVID, mate, so how's it all going?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I've had still in isolation, but I've had no symptoms since the first day, really, so I've been one of the lucky ones. How haven't milked it as much as Simon this week.
We're going to give him some stick. He'll cut us off, and he's already screwed me up once today. Hey, come on, Simon.
But now looking forward to the FA Cup weekend. Third round's always a big weekend, and we're probably touching it a bit later, but we've got a big game to Saturday morning, Palace. So
we're going to be talking quite a bit about the FA Cup. So, but without further ado, we've gone all religious again. Father Ado is here yet again, blessing us with his presence. So without further ado, I shall bring in Mike Howe. How are you, Mike?
Not bad. How you keeping, Gary? Long time no see.
Bad. So for everyone watching, Mike Howe, massive Palace fan. He's been on the terraces. He's been in the army, but he's going to tell you more about that. And he's been a policeman, and he'll tell you more about that. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Lovely being here.
I hope you're keeping well and your family are all safe and sound.
Yeah, they're all well, mate. Got a new addition to the family.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I dare say that we won't have many guests on our show with such a varied background as your good self, sir. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in your life.
All right. Okay. Well, very interesting. Left school at 16. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Ended up as an apprentice electrician. I did that. I had a 4-year course, and basically what I did, one day I was on day release from college, and I said to my late mum, God bless her, I said to her, Mum, I'm just going around the shops. So I went around the shop. She said, don't be long. Lunch will be on in a minute. Went around the shops. About an hour and a half later, came back and said, Mum, I've joined the army. And the words were, don't be blooming stupid. Anyway, I showed her the paperwork. I don't know why. Just went around the army. A very quick story. I wanted to join the Guards. I wanted to stand outside Buckingham Palace. But back in the 80s, definite no-no. We won't go into that now, but it was a definite no-no. All I remember is the recruiting sergeant saying to me, won't forget these words, son, how long are you signing up for? I told him. He says, if you want to spend the rest of your days peeling potatoes, go ahead. But he said, I'll strongly advise you not to. So I didn't. So I went down the list of things. He gave me a list, quite a substantive list. And I said, I like the sound of the Royal Green Jackets. And he said to me, a very, very good regiment, very, very good regiment. Goes, London regiment, but big draw from Liverpool. What was it? Big Liverpool, Birmingham, Oxford, Sunderland. And I ended up joining the army. I thought that was it, but 26 weeks of grueling poo, mate. I don't know how I got through it. We started off with about 40 geezers. Only 18 of us made it. And I went in and I enjoyed it. Made the best friends from my life. Best mates now. We still see loads of guys up and down the country, football, whatever. And I had a great time. I left the army I initially joined in 80 and was going to leave in 83. I didn't. I stayed till 88.
You've done 8 years?
Yeah. After 3, I signed for 3, stayed for 8, open engagement. So I came out and I sat the entrance exam for the, at the time, prison service. Probably didn't know that. So anyway, I ended up joining the prison service because I also sat the exam for the police, but they came up first. And I just bought a new house. I needed money for my mortgage. So I ended up in the prison service. I thought I'd stay for a little while. Stayed for 14 years. And then I transferred to, Lewes Prison in Sussex. Hated every moment of it. And in 2000, I decided I'm going to join the police. And
sorry, Mike. Do you know, I didn't know you'd been in prison officer. Even more. What?
It's quite
funny. God.
It's quite funny because I ended up joining the police, and obviously, as you probably know, I retired 4 years ago. But now I've got into my true love, going back to Palace, watching Palace. But it's quite funny because obviously being a policeman and everything, a lot of people who I used to go football with, there's a few people who knew, but not everybody knew. And they were going all blinking, oh, what's Mick like? What's Mick like? And a few phone calls were made to one particular guy who knows everybody. And he says, Mick is okay. If you know him from old, you know what he's like. And I've never lost it.
No.
That's all I'm going to say to you. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow. There's a shock for me there. I didn't realise you'd done that as well. So, I mean, what a varied life. Which is great because some of the subjects that we're going to talk about, you're going to be able to help us out a bit, hopefully. But look, what we normally do, we normally fire some questions at our guests, just to wobble you a bit and get. But so normally we have Simon and all three of us chuck a few at, but we won't have Simon as we know. So Dan, I think you're going to start the ball rolling, and I'm going to finish it off. Fire away.
Right, I know you grew up in Rotherhithe, mate, which ain't really a Palace area. So, but what made you start supporting Palace?
Right. What happened? My late dad, it was a birthday treat. He says we're going to go football. Now, when I was smaller, much younger, he used to bring home posters from Arsenal. I thought, yeah, I like them. The days of Charlie George, Frank McClintock, George Graham, George Armstrong. And he said to me, right, it's birthday, we're going to go to football. Where do you want to go? So we had Millwall, which was local, Charlton, or Crystal Palace. Now, all I thought about at the time was a bus ride. And I wanted a longer bus ride than going to Millwall or going to Charlton. So anyway, we went to Crystal Palace, but no one said that, especially at a young age of 10, that there was a long walk from Crystal Palace Parade down to Selhurst Park. So we did it. I enjoyed it. My first game, what was it? 1971. It was Crystal Palace versus West Ham. And I'll never forget that day. There was Peter Taylor playing for Palace. I remember Clyde Best, who was playing for West Ham, and the grief he got that day. And the old man said to me after that, never coming to Crystal Palace again. Never ever going to go to Crystal Palace. Anyway, as I got older, I wanted to go to Palace. I liked it, I liked it and everything. And there was, 10 lads from our estate. We all lived on Surrey Docks, on Lower Road. And we all went, I said, we said, we're going to go football. And they said, where are we going to go? And I said, let's go to Palace. It was really good when I went there. And every one of us to this day, 50 odd years later, still followed Palace. Every one of us. Even a lot of my family were Millwall.
Yeah. Right, Mike. Favorite Palace player of all time?
Right. I can go with a few. I'll tell you who I enjoyed when I was a kid was Vince Hilaire, Peter Taylor, and obviously Wrighty come along. He was next generation. But I like Vince Hilaire because he was very quick, he was skillful. And to have a skillful player back then was unbelievable. Yeah. It was quite funny. I'm in touch with him now, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in touch with him.
There's a guest coming up for the show then, I reckon. I remember seeing Vince Hilaire. I lived in Milton Keynes at the time, years and years and years ago. Palace played friendly against Milton Keynes City. And Vince Hilaire was playing that day, yeah. It was when you had that white strip with
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Before my time, all this.
You little baby.
Right, so another question. Who do you class as Palace's biggest rivals? Because I know depends what age group you are, doesn't it? Really, Brighton.
What, sorry?
It depends what area you're from, whether it's Brighton, Charlton, or Millwall, isn't it?
Well, listen. There's always this thing about Brighton. The geographics of where Palace and Brighton are just doesn't go. You know what I mean? Brighton, there's nowhere in Brighton. Our nearest rivals were Millwall, Charlton. Now, I know Millwall have their thing with West Ham, and it always will be. It's quite funny because I've got a lot of Millwall pals who've been contacting me and saying, "Oh, mate, it's good, going to be a good day on Saturday and all that." There is that rivalry; it's still there, but I think probably more so with Charlton. Well, say more so with Charlton. They're there as they're there. Charlton are there. Brighton, it's just a game we have to get through. They class it as a big game for them. My generation, I think, I speak for my generation, I don't see them as our big game. It's just another game we've got to go through with some excitement during the game.
Yeah. Right, over to you, Gary. You got a few questions, didn't you?
Yeah, I have. Best FA Cup weekend coming up. Best FA Cup memory, mate.
I'll tell you what. I was a teenager, and I think I've told Dan this story, but I won't divulge too much into it. I hurt my hand, and
I'll say no more.
I spoke to a Chelsea friend. I spoke to a Chelsea fella. We had a chat, and I hurt my hand after. But that was that. You know what I mean? Chelsea Palace.
We've got the terminology knuckle draggers in it.
Chelsea Palace. I think when we beat them at their place, Stamford Bridge, many years ago. I can't remember what year.
76.
I was a teenager. I think we took about nearly, those days when you could take thousands. I don't think Chelsea expected Palace to have so many thousands across there. We must have had about 15,000 easy. It was a good day out. I'll never forget it.
That was a Peter Taylor game, wasn't it? 76, I think it was. I think it was 76.
Okay, nicely into my next question then, being that you're at your hand one day. Most trouble you've ever witnessed at a game, be it on the terraces or even, I don't know if you ever did football as a police officer.
Yeah, I did. I've done many games as a police officer.
Yeah. So the most trouble you witnessed at a game?
Many years ago was at Chelsea Palace. Yeah. It was grief. Inside, outside, all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Chelsea I think they were the equivalent of a Premiership club. I think we were still third division, the old third division.
Yeah, it was.
We were the old third division, and they thought Palace won't bring many, and they were a bit shocked. But it was a good day out.
You got the famous pictures in the was it the North Stand that day with the karate kick from the late Martin, your good old mate, your mate Gary Martin King, the late big Chelsea fan, author. He speaks about. Well, he's actually in the footage. You can see him in the footage that day. He pointed out himself. But
Favourite away ground, mate?
Do you know what? I've got to say this. Since been going there, when they opened their new ground, I've got to say it's Tottenham. By far.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I have been there,
Yeah, what a ground. Unbelievable ground.
It is unbelievable. Although I do like the old fashioned, but you're right. Tottenham is unreal, really.
Unbelievable.
Okay, big question. Old school football or modern day football?
Do you know what? I'm gonna be controversial. I'm gonna go modern day.
Oh,
no, listen.
We love a bit of controversy. Okay, coming up next in the show, we're going to be discussing modern day football.
No, the only reason I say modern day football, listen, I remember the days of playing football and the pitches were blinking like a mud bath. And at least you watch today's football, it's just flowing football, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Mike, we said it last week, and I said there's some good things about modern football, and I couldn't actually say what they were. But then I watched the Liverpool-Chelsea game last weekend.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I just sat there and thought, this is a brilliant product. I hate everything else about it, but you can't deny it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I would say the thing, I went to West Ham, Palace-West Ham last week, and from the flowing football was unbelievable. Just from both sides as well.
You're not allowed to tackle anymore, are you? Probably that's why.
The only thing I hate about modern day football is when a player gets a tap on the ankle and they're rolling around like they've been shot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I can't stand it. It really winds me out.
I think we have different takes on what we deem as modern day football. For me, it's not the actual football, like you say. The football's actually some of it. So the Chelsea Liverpool game, that first half was unreal. But I think like my take on modern day football is the way the fans are disrespected in some places, and the whole commercial product that it's sort of. It's not about. It don't feel like it's about the fans anymore. It's all about the commercial product, and that's the way it's gone. And for me, my biggest pet hate is that the Premier League, the Super League as it was in 1992, did what they did to keep most of the money with them, and therefore the pyramid, the football pyramid. Unfortunately, since the Premier League has suffered not having that distribution because it's a separate entity. And so for me, like I say, we can talk about this a little bit later, but yeah, I mean, the football, you're absolutely right. The product, I don't like, that's
agree. I totally agree on that one. It's not for the working man anymore.
No. Right. And I think that's it. I'm a bit of a dinosaur, so for me, I find that a really bitter pill to swallow.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Football when I was growing up. It was for the family. You go there with your brothers, your old man, or whatever. Now it's just there's nothing there anymore.
No, and they're trying to kick the passion out. Well, look, so we don't lose tracks. We've got lots and lots of interesting things to talk about. Before we do anything else, let's just have a look and see. Give a few shout outs to people that I know watching. Firstly, Mr. Stevie Guy. Hello, sir. How are you? How you doing? We've got Vicky watching, Nikki watching. We've got, let's have a look. Gareth Williams. How are you, sir? Dave Slawson. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
I'll say it right for your brother. I won't say it right for you. We've got Lee Bryan on. Oh, who else we got on?
QPR Dave.
QPR Dave over there in Ireland. How are you, sir? How you doing? Greg's on. How are you, Greg? Look, Leonard Lamb's on. How are you, sir? Commiserations, by the way. I understand you had a funeral this I think it was your dad. So thoughts are with you, sir. Matty's listening in. Great. Okay, cool. So I thought I'd give a few shout outs. So we're going to move it along, and let's look at our first subject. Let's go with the FA Cup first, I think. So big FA Cup weekend. Woo! There you go, the Twin Towers. Oh, don't you miss them?
Yeah.
Oh, I miss the old Wembley. So it is FA Cup weekend. It's the big one. It's the third round when the big boys come into play. The modern footballists meet the traditionalists, as you could put it. So we got some interesting games. Let's start with your game. And Dan, give us some of your memories from the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, well, we got Millwall on Saturday morning.
Oh,
early, silly kick-off. Was it 1:45? Right? But unfortunately, I'm still isolating, so I can't go. I haven't chickened out. If anyone says that, I can't go. I believe Mike's going, but
there's a few of us going up to it.
Where's it at? Millwall.
Yeah.
They've only given us 2,500 tickets.
Oh right, we had that in the cup with them. So you'll get the top tier, and you'll get the middle section of the bottom tier.
Oh right, okay.
That's what you'll get. Yeah, because I think the top tier holds 2. And they'll let 500 in the bottom tier.
Okay.
No,
safest ground in the country to go to anyway. Just bang off at South Bermondsey.
Yeah. It isn't when you go in. Last time I went there, me and my brother went in the Millwall end because we couldn't get in the Palace end. So we sat, your brother Mike, then we sat in the. We didn't make ourselves known enough, I think, obviously, and every time Millwall scored, my brother sort of stood up and just sort of done a little. So what are you clapping for? We just and I think we lost 3-0 or 4-1. I don't know. And 10 minutes ago, we got up and walked out. And as we're walking out, they've clocked. We ate Millwall somehow. I don't know. And we got a few expletives like "f off you, f you fat beats." And me and my brother looked at each other, and we both went, "Were they talking to you, or was they talking to me?" Because we're both slightly big. But anyway, we was all right. But yeah, don't recommend going in the Millwall end. If
Yeah.
you haven't got a ticket.
QPR Davis said Dan's got Millwall flu. Dan's got Millwall flu. Oh dear.
You know, the funny thing about it, lads, is that I served in the army with loads of guys who were from Millwall, and I'm meeting up with some of them before the game, and it's going to be quite funny. You know what I mean? Our loyalties first, you know, we're ex-soldiers, and we stick together. It's just going to be just a day for a meet up with some of the lads. But I'm going with some of my mates from Bellingham and Catford, so we're all meeting up for before the game for a drink and all that.
That'd be good fun, wouldn't it? But
so it all kicks off Friday night with Swindon Man City.
Yeah,
Man City. I think most of them have got coronavirus anyway, ain't they?
Are they?
So will Swindon be in with a shout?
Probably
it's
not.
The FA Cup. Anything's possible, isn't it?
That's right.
I'll have a little flick through. I mean, there is a lot of fixtures. So what I'll do, I'll pull out and highlight some of the what look like quite big ones. I will touch on Coventry got Derby and just maybe coming a little bit away from the cup there. They could pull off a miraculous recovery in the Championship. 21 points deducted. And they have actually got a chance of staying up. So is Wayne Rooney the next superstar manager, I wonder?
He's done well, hasn't he?
Well, I mean, I think we don't realise it goes under the radar because they're rock bottom, but everyone forgets they've had 21 points deducted.
That's right.
And they actually have really been pulling that back. And I suspect it's gone a little bit unnoticed there. So that's an interesting cup game, you know. If they get a win there, you know, will that give them even further boost? Don't know. Obviously, we've got the Millwall. It is absolutely 1-1. Millwall Palace. Boreham would have got Wimbledon non-league there.
Not doing bad, Boreham would either in that league, in the National League. So
yeah, they're in National League and doing quite well. Kidderminster, they got at home to Reading.
Yeah, lowest ranked team.
Non-league side there.
Lowest ranked team, Kidderminster, aren't they?
Yeah.
The richest club in the world is playing Cambridge United up at St James's Park. Interesting. They who they just signed?
Kieran Tierney or Typical?
Yes,
yeah.
Trippier,
that's right. I knew it began with T.
Yeah. We got to mention Peterborough Bristol Rovers. Why don't I nip up to that? It's only up the road, but then Watford, I've got Leicester City. So I could nip up the road to that. But Watford got Leicester in an all Premiership game there. I will touch on some of my memories shortly. QPR Rotherham, that ain't going to be an easy ride for you boys, Dave. I know you're watching. You've got, let's have a look, West Brom versus Brighton.
Chesterfield's a big game, isn't it? Away to Chelsea.
Chelsea Chesterfield. It's 5:30 kickoff. 6,000, 6,500, something like that. Chesterfield going down for that. Good luck to them, non-league side there at Chelsea. Although you know they were a fixed sort of professional side for so many years. But looking down here, you got Yeovil again non-league now. Against Bournemouth, actually a bit of a local game that as well, really, down on the south coast there. But that's fixtures you've got on Saturday. Then on Sunday, I've got to mention them, Luton, little club near Luton Airport. Luton have got Harrogate. Again, Charlton being one of your local rivals have got Norwich and in with a good shout there. Norwich, you know, I don't know whether they'll be focused more on trying to start. Liverpool against Shrewsbury. You know, Shrewsbury had knocked out Everton a few years back, if you remember. In a big shock there. I wonder if we're going to get any shocks. It would be good. Tottenham at home to Morecambe. And then a feisty one. Steve, you're watching, mate. A feisty one down at the old Olympic Stadium. is West Ham Leeds, and I think your ex-comrade's going to have their bloody hands full, from what I'm hearing. But there we are.
Well, I think that's what I love about the FA Cup, Go, is that you get a bigger allocation of away fans, don't they? It's more of a the atmosphere is better.
I think half of Leeds are coming down actually, so I can imagine.
They didn't do that for us, did they?
No, they didn't. No, give us 2,000, didn't they? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. And then Forest Arsenal, interesting one that. And then just checking now what we got on Monday to finish off. Stevie Guy's just messaged me. He's going. Behave. You be a good boy. And then there's a big one there. We got Man United versus Aston Villa on Monday night, and that is the third round. So there is a bit of non-league interest in there. Yeah. Can you guys see any upsets?
I can. It's upsets. I was going to say Chesterfield coming down to Chelsea, but I can't see him doing Chelsea.
No.
Yeah, it means they'll be up for it, but if they can nick a goal in the 89th minute or something like that, definitely.
I think the non-league sides have got tough rides. They're not got nothing easy going there. Boreham Wood probably with the best chance at Wimbledon of maybe getting a non-league side through to the fourth round.
I think there's more chance. There's more chance nowadays and that's why the Cup's lost its magic, because teams don't play they rest players, don't they? Unfortunately, that's Premiership, even Championship teams rest players, so there might be a few shocks.
Yeah, there might be, like you say, but I think this leads on nicely to discuss the FA Cup and obviously how we perceived it back in the day. I'll just give you, obviously, the memory for me has to be 1984 when Watford got to the cup final. I know we did get to there you go, see, the late wonderful Graham Taylor there, Howard Kendall leading the sides out. And I was in there somewhere. I don't know where, but I was a bit inebriated as a young man. But no, that was my biggest memory. And the cup meant so much. It just meant it was the world, the build-up. You don't get all that anymore, But the one thing was, even though we lost that cup, we didn't leave the ground. Our team got to do a lap of honour as well. These days, they're all gone.
That's right.
Don't get me wrong. I was gone sharp, mate, when we played Man City the other year. But then when you get drubbed 6-0, it's bloody embarrassment. It ain't nothing to celebrate. You know what I mean? But back then, it was brilliant. And the one thing, and I think I've got a photo coming up, was when we had the homecoming, like, even though we'd lost, and this wasn't unusual for the losers to get a reception back at their place back then, because the cup meant so much. That's a picture of Watford, receiving back the FA Cup losers. Can you see that ever happening now?
No.
That was the passion. That's what the cup meant to people. And
you do that after getting through the third round now, don't they, Watford?
Mate, I ain't going to go there, mate, because I just ain't going there with you lot. Do you know what I mean?
I think, what's our greatest memory, Mike? Is probably
I think my greatest memory was when we played Liverpool at Villa Park.
Yeah.
Beaten 4-3. And that was one of my best days out. I must admit, I remember that day. I lost my voice.
Yeah, I did as well.
I was living in the Midlands at the time, funny enough. And I met some guys at Birmingham New Street Station. I didn't know Palace had fans up there. And these guys, where did they come from? Stoke. I'll never forget them. These Palace fans from Stoke, absolutely wrecked. But what a day out. What a day out. I ended up having a drink with them. It was a good day out.
Do you think that is one of the problems, though, that they play the semi-finals at Wembley? Because for me, I've done two semi-finals at Wembley. I won't mention one of them, but one of them was against Wolves. And it was a terrific game. It was an unbelievable game. We won 3-2. We came back from 2-0 down.
They've taken the
It just
excitement
wasn't
out
the
of it.
same as being at Villa Park. Or
No.
it just weren't the same. And
No.
I think getting through to the final, it felt like you'd already been there. Your day out at Wembley was already done.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Semis, you know what I mean?
totally agree.
I think that was the whole. That was a lot of it. Was just going to Wembley. All right, the old Wembley for me. The new Wembley is an amazing stadium, but it don't hold that same feeling that the Twin Towers had. And I think there's a massive loss there, because it wasn't just about the fact that your club was in the FA Cup final. That was a massive thing then, but it was just about being at Wembley as well. Whereas you're doing it in the semi-finals now.
Yeah, the Villa Park was a great semi-final venue. Same, Hillsborough unfortunately had the terrible tragedy there, but you had Old Trafford, even Highbury held some great semi-finals, didn't they? But getting back to like that, the great thing about that 4-3 against Liverpool, sorry to keep going about Palace, was we lost 9-0 to them, didn't we, away?
That's right, yeah.
The landed sequel.
About 4 months before, I went up to the 9-0 game, and then to go and beat them 4-3, they had a top team out and all that day, didn't they?
Well, you know what? It's quite funny because I had mates who were Scousers from the army, and they were at the game, and they were ringing up, Mick, we're going to do you again, you know, another 9-0. Mate, I'll tell you, I couldn't find one of them after.
No, my Scouts, mate, they had all food laid on in their pub to celebrate getting to the final after. They already hired the pub out, and obviously that never happened.
But that was my memories. Because, as you said, Gary, going to places like Villa Park, Sheffield Wednesday for a semi-final, then Wembley, that made the excitement of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
That's been taken away, and that is all corporate. That's money.
Definitely, we're getting some good interaction from people. I don't know if you're seeing them, Dan.
Yeah.
Point raised by Matty Nash from UK Casuals there. He's saying Man United killed the FA Cup off when they decided to win. I don't think that was the defining nail in the coffin myself.
They degraded it.
It did have an effect. I mean, it definitely. It was the biggest club in this country showing a total disrespect to the cup that for a long time was the greatest cup competition in the world. But I think it was heading that way anyway. I don't think that
they was another nail in the coffin, wasn't it? I think
it was another nail, without a doubt.
World Club Championship.
Was it the defining nail? I'm not sure. I think there was many nails going in that coffin.
The last nail was stop showing the comedians on the coach going to Wembley Way with a team.
Yeah, all that build-up. I mean, you know, they just don't do it anymore. And the younger generation and the younger people that are watching us now would never appreciate quite just how much that build-up. I mean, the shops are empty, or a lot of the women would be out making the most of the empty shops. And then after the game, everyone, I mean, where I lived, everyone would be out and wanting to play football. And it didn't matter who you supported. Just touch on a few of them. Gareth Williams, 2008 final against Pompey. We lost, but to reach the final was the greatest achievement. That was Cardiff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Cardiff. Yeah, of course it was. Look, Gareth, I know you're Cardiff, mate. Even in your picture, you're wearing a Cardiff top.
It's a good point from Stu Mack as well there. What I was going to mention, he said there's no extra time or penalties. No, there's extra time and penalties in the third and fourth round. There's no replays.
There's no replays.
Yeah. I sort of get that with the amount of football and the amount of World Cup dates and all that going on. I guess I get why a lot of that's happened.
And I don't want to change the subject too much, but there's VAR. VAR counts in Premier League clubs who've got VAR facilities, but then they won't count they can't use it at Bournemouth, Wimbledon. So I think that's wrong. You've got to have it a level playing field for everyone.
Of course, yeah, I totally agree on that one.
Yeah, good point, actually, Dan. Really good point. Dave's saying 1982 QPR were robbed in the replay against Spurs in the final at Wembley. That was thinking. I remember that goal. Was it Ricky Villa against Man City at Wembley?
Brilliant goal, yeah.
That was in a replay as well at Wembley, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Brilliant goal. I always remember that goal. What else we got there? I'm just having a look through. agree with Gary. After beating Bardsley in the semi-finals, going for the final felt a bit anticlimax. Yeah, that's agreeing with the point about, you know, the whole playing of the semi-finals at Wembley. Leonard Lamb, a good cup run does wonders for the fans, and top teams killed the cup with the Premier League.
Can you remember the last proper final, like the all-day final? I think, was it Coventry Spurs?
That was 1987, so it went beyond that, right. I think.
Maybe, what was it, Liverpool Sunderland? Was that probably the last all-day one? I don't know. 91, 92?
I know Watford Man United was the last ever semi-final at Villa Park. I won't mention the score either, but there we are. We took a bit of an hiding that day. Just seeing if there's any more. Yeah, you're right. Yes, what they're saying about the extra time penalties. But yeah, people get involved with the show. This is what we want to do. You can also email us as well as leave messages. Obviously, live messages means we can talk about it there and then. You can drop us an email, get involved if you'd like us to bring up any subjects. Our email is getinvolved@properfootball.co.uk. That's getinvolved@properfootball.co.uk. But do get involved. That's the whole idea. The show's for everyone, and your input is so important. Gary Clark, who's on next week, folks, so make sure you tune in next Thursday at 8. That is going to be a great show with Gary, a.k.a. Boatsy. Gascoigne shouldn't have been sent off against us, lads. Who knows then? Think we'd have won.
It's one thing Cloughie never won, did he? Was the FA Cup?
Yeah. Amazing manager, Brian Clough.
Was that the game that Gascoigne done a really bad tackle on Gary Charles and then he damaged his own ligaments, didn't he? Was that the game?
Didn't he break his leg or something?
Was his ligaments or his knee?
Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it that one against Forest? I think it was, wasn't it? Gary's
tackle.
Obviously listening. I'm sure he'll let us know that was the game. Was that the game, Gal? If you can let us know. Neil McDonald, it's still a great day for the supporters when you get there. Love going to Wembley with Pompey, as we are so vocal. And fair play to Pompey. I mean, I've been down to what's Fratton Park. I've been down there, and honestly, when they do that Blue Army thing, and you're in that away end, it's like a wall of noise. It's just unreal. But yeah.
It was Gary Charles,
Yeah, Leonard's just come up and said that. Yeah, Gazza messed his knee up with that tackle against Forest. Anyway, but Gazza, what a player he was and could have been so much more, I think, myself. But there we are. Right, okay.
I'll just mention another FA. I don't know if Simon's got a picture of it, but the FA Cup semi-final, Alan Pardew got the winning goal for us in 89 area it is against Liverpool.
He's ready there.
Yeah, and then
making up for his previous misdemeanors.
But then fast forward to about 4 years ago when we lost to we went 1-0. I think we won it up against Man United in the cup final, and then Pardew done this silly dance.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
What a reaction there from the player, first class. There was some feeling in the
What was all that about?
Hero to zero.
Hero.
Yeah, we're not to lose that.
That's right, we did.
What I will say, and it's great that we're getting so much interaction with people, and this is where we want the show to go, folks. I might get boring, keep repeating it, but this is where we want the show to be. We want everyone involved. Get your messages in. I'll repeat that email address again as well, because if you want us to bring a subject up next week or the week after, you want us to talk about something, drop us an email. You can email us while the show's on. And that email address is, once again, it is getinvolved@properfootball.co.uk. Get involved at properfootball.co.uk. Peter Mansell, bet they do away with replays from now on. Big clubs don't want them. So you know, I get that, and especially due to COVID cancellations, I get all that. I think, you know, one of the downsides for smaller clubs is they used to make a lot of money out of replays.
Absolutely.
And that, again, is another thing for me with the modern day football thing about how the money doesn't filter down as well as it used to. And this is another thing, you know, there's a lot of smaller clubs used to pull off that wonderful draw against one of the big boys and get them back at where they're going to get a real good money day, you know. That seems to be going as well, which is a shame. Here's one for you two guys from QPR Dave. Clive Allen sparking a riot against Palace in the quarterfinals.
I was going to mention that earlier.
I remember that. That was all over the pitch, wasn't it?
That's right.
Proper
It must have
went
been
off.
I'll tell you what, I remember that game, hundreds swarmed the pitch.
I remember it. I remember it.
And what a day out. I'll never forget that. That was a lively game as well.
82. I just left school, for fuck's sake.
He ran the
82.
He ran the full length of the pitch and stuck his fingers up.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, you were in the army at 80, so you got.
Yeah, well, I couldn't get in trouble because obviously, if I got in trouble outside, you get in trouble in the army, and believe me, it's far worse than Civvy Street.
Yeah.
So
number one, Dan, for you, that Pardew dance was bad, but nowhere near as bad as the decisions Clattenburg made that day.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That's from Peter Mansell.
Shocking.
He was a Man United support, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was. Shocking display. That touched on another memory about Palace. Did you ask me that, Gary?
Well, no, I did feel the show as the Eagles landed sequel. So
Ian Wright coming on the final against Man United was 2-1 down because he broke his leg twice that season. Ian Wright. He didn't feature in the semis. He come on, Coppell brought him on, then he scored within minutes, and then scored what we thought was the winner in extra time.
That's right.
And I was in the Olympic Gallery that day, right at the top of Wembley, just underneath the roof.
Gallery.
Yeah. And I remember looking at the scoreboard. We've never won anything, have we, Palace? We was 3-2 up, 7 minutes left, and then Mark Hughes decided to ruin my life.
It's quite funny because I don't know if you remember that game. I clearly remember it. I actually bought my ticket off a geezer at Victoria.
Right.
And that day, what happened? He got lifted. He got nicked. And he said to his pals, sell it for £100 and I'll buy it off you. And they only gave us 15,000 tickets that day.
That's another bad thing about it.
It was supposed to do with the attendance, etc. Then we played them on I think it was a Monday night or something like that.
Replay,
and we took 40,000 over there, up to Wembley.
Yeah.
But I really remember that night. It was a funny, a good day at Boyle.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Cool. Right. Okay. I'm just going to leave the FA Cup with one thing. I've always said, and I always feel like we do, that the FA Cup's lost its magic and everything else. I do think, though, and especially we've been banging on about the resurgence of non-league clubs with the fan bases and all that. I do think for them non-league clubs, there is still a very special FA Cup. And they might not get the final, they know that. But I think from when they start their qualifying rounds through to when them special few get the opportunity to come up against big boys like we've got this weekend, that is special. That is so special for them fans. So we shouldn't write the FA Cup off. I think there is still a special place for a lot of fans in lower league, particularly non-league. That's my view anyway. Just one more comment coming there, then we're going to move on, people, because we're running out of time again. Can remember, this is from Gary Clark, can remember beating Palace after about 3 games on our run to the final against Spurs.
Yeah, kept getting called off.
Afternoon in the snow at Palace, then going back to Forest, Solarco scoring a wonder goal at Forest in the replay.
That's right. It got called off about 3 times.
Yeah.
Fog, all different reasons. I mean, went up to a couple of them and had to turn around. I think I was with Wiz with one of them.
Yeah. And I think Leonard's just said again, a cup run can be a lifeline for some teams. And Leonard, you know, that is the shame about and I understand why they don't want to do the replays, but the replays probably saved a lot of clubs from going under back then.
Absolutely.
Because that's where they were making some big dough, because a replay tended to be on the telly, and maybe they'd drawn in their ground that holds 2,000 or 3,000, and then they go back to Man United where they got maybe 50,000 or whatever it was at the time. But yeah, absolutely right. And the replays is something that is a shame for the smaller clubs. Right, I'm going to move it along, folks. Going to talk a little bit about policing, not because Mike's on an ex-old Bill, as you could call it on this show, but because I think we're seeing an awful lot of situations. What I want to do, I'm going to put a video on now that I'd like you all to watch. Some of you may have already seen it. And this raises for me the question of, are the police as savvy as they used to be when it comes to football? Because if you watch what you're about to see, and I will take apart this and get your opinions on it, this highlights for me a massive lack of understanding. And I'll explain why after we see the clip. This is the Cheshire's chief constable doing a interview with the British Bullshit Company. Sorry, BBC. Mark Roberts. Cue video.
Crowds are stood up. It's easy to throw missiles, engage in hate chanting, racism, sneak alcohol in, take cocaine, which is a growing issue in the problem. And also with many of the modern stadiums, the bowls can actually migrate all the way around the stadium. So the concern is that they get overloaded, you then get crushing issues, and actually it becomes quite an exclusionary crowd because families may not want to go in there, different groups might not want to go in there.
Sorry, what I should have said was the subject was the so-called safe standing, which for those of you who may be not aware, most of you should be, that for the first time in 30 years, fans were allowed to stand in top flight stadiums, which in itself is a load of bollocks because every away fan in every ground stands up through a whole game. And there are some clubs like my own that actually allow there to be areas that they can stand up. So that isn't quite a fair assessment to say first time in 30 years you've had people standing in a football ground, because that is not the case at all. I've stood at Chelsea, I've stood everywhere. But he's made some, for me, I mean, he's like Coco the Flaming Clown. I mean, he really is. I mean, I'll take it piece by piece and then get your opinions, guys. First of all, he said it's going to make it easier for throwing missiles. It's a rail in front of a seat. I mean, would they not do that now? Is that good? For me, it's not a sensible comment.
Well, I was at Palace West Ham Saturday, and unfortunately, a missile was thrown at West Ham fans.
Yeah,
and it came from the seated area.
Yeah,
it came from the seated area.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
It was
I'm not
thrown
saying
at the West Ham players.
Yeah, I think the problem with that comment is that could happen whether there's a rail in front of your seat or not.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the first comment. Second one, more racial chanting. Now, I personally, I mean, look, we know there are dickheads. We get the odd dickhead says something, and they're getting weeded out. But when was the last time you heard racial chanting in a football ground? We know it used to go on.
I think I spoke to Dan about this some time back. You don't get it just in the pub in the actual ground itself. You get it outside. No. Now there was a pub near Palace at the time, and it was a renowned big EDL pub, NF pub, whatever you want to call it, and it was grief. It was grief, and these were Palace fans.
Is this going back, Mike?
Going back a few years, mate.
Like, but in the modern day as we are now.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, mate, absolutely with you on what went on in the past.
Yeah.
We've all seen it and heard it for ourselves. These comments are about modern day.
Oh no, you don't listen.
I mean, his words were, "This will make it easier for more racial chanting," and I'm like,
there ain't racial chanting at football nowadays, is there? There's no.
You get an idiot. We know that, and they're being weeded out. You can clearly see that, right? But he can't. There's no foundation to that comment. Sneak alcohol in. It's going to make it easier to sneak out. It's a seat with a bar. I don't. Every comment he's made, I literally taken.
Cocaine standing up is easier. Doing coke, wasn't it? There's another one he said. The rise of coke.
Oh, well, what he's saying, and this is something the Sun have done, which, you know, for me, it's like they've got their heads buried in the sand the last 30 years. But they reckon that this police officer in that interview said that this will lead to more cocaine use, which is becoming a big problem in football. Right. So that weren't happening 30 years ago. I mean, it's been happening for
a long time.
I think the police, a lot of people use football as it's social problems. It ain't a football problem. A lot of these,
it ain't. Yeah.
And they just typecast football fans as.
It's the same.
We know lads do it, but I think the Sun did something where they went round the ground testing toilet fucking shelves or whatever, and come up saying nearly every ground's had cocaine. Go to every pub, Son. Go to every toilet in Parliament, Son. And you know,
I'll tell you what,
Sun, for God's sake.
I'll tell you what. Go to the financial part of the city, and I can talk firsthand about that, mate.
Yeah.
All day long.
I mean,
go to the Sun offices. The toilets are there probably full of coke, aren't they?
We will. Obviously, people are making some comments about it, but I will catch them up. But yeah, the comment on the cocaine for me was just. There are a couple of comments which I'll come on to, but that one, more than anyone, coming from a senior police officer, tells me he ain't got a clue. And for me, the police back in the late 80s, early 90s were proper clued up. They were proper clued up, and they were on it, and that's what made football violence never gone away. It just it got muted. And it got took away from the stadiums and everything else. Although we're seeing a resurgence of that this year, without a doubt. Dan, we were talking earlier, weren't we? And this is something interesting, Mike. Would love to get your comment on. To me, it feels like the police are getting lazy. So they're relying on people with their cameras. They're relying on their own footage from their body cams, from CCTV. So they're not preventing. They're just waiting to get people on a film and then going and kicking the door in 2 or 3 weeks later and nicking them. You know, so it doesn't prevent it. But to me, it feels like policing's getting lazy. They're not. Maybe you'd know better than me, mate.
In my opinion, football policing has changed in football. Going back to the 80s, 90s, even some part of the early 2000s. The police had the finger on the pulse of football.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. You've got to remember also a lot of the guys and girls who back then have retired, and you've got a new generation of police officers who just don't have the same mentality as back then. You know, the training is completely different as well. We can go into that all day long, but policing has changed dramatically, in my opinion. You know,
do you also think, Mike, that policing as well, the recruitment and the type of police officer that's being employed now? I mean, it used to be so many, like your good self, ex-servicemen coming out of service into the police force. I'm not sure that that's their mainstream of recruitment now, is it?
No. Well, I know, having just before I retired from the job, the standard of officers coming through were university graduates.
Yeah.
Now, And the other thing was some of these university graduates didn't have any sort of life skills. So the last thing personally, if I had a situation and the police were coming to me, and you've got some 21-year-old who's just all he's done is studied he or she has studied throughout, and they come to my house trying to tell me something, doesn't work. Back then, what you were talking about when I joined, a lot of when in my class, out of 20 of us, 16 of us were in the military. We were all from the military.
Yeah,
and it was you had a training school back then. You don't have residential training school. It's basically learning on the job now. You learn in a porter cabin. You go out for a few hours. What powers did you use? What what sections, etc., etc. At training school, it was exams. You learned thoroughly. 18, 19 weeks of grief. That was the hardest time of my life.
I think there's a lot of contributing factors to why we're seeing such a change in policing. I mean, Dan, there's some instances recently, isn't there, with some fans? Was it the
Chesterfield
fans? Was it, or
went up to Grimsby? They all got turned back and sent back to. I think it's just like you say, lazy police, maybe a lack of resources. I don't know, but everything's like you said earlier. Everything's on camera now, so there's no. It's all stewards mainly in the ground, isn't it? So fans are getting more. They're getting more involved, aren't they? But it's all just being filmed. There's like entrapment. I know you've got to behave yourself, but it's entrapment, isn't it? Then you get your door smashed through a few weeks later or a month later. There's no. I don't know. They just become lazy. Going off of football, any police incident, you get burgled, you get your car nicked. You have to wait 2 or 3 days for the old bill to turn up, don't you? There's no.
Well, unfortunately, what you got now in policing, clubs have to pay for that. Clubs are not willing to pay for it. Pay for them out. You can have them outside, but to have police in the offices inside the ground, you're paying a substantial amount of monies. The other thing is, as you said, Dan, CCTV is everywhere in football. You look at some of the old stands, cameras there watching you. So the cameras are doing the work, and also people posting stuff on social media are doing the work as well. Yeah,
but you don't get the interaction with the old bill. I know a lot of people don't want the interaction with them, do you? But there's no like.
Do you know, like you always had your police intelligence officers assigned to you as a group. They knew who you were.
They come and say hello.
Mate, our one, old boy Ray died a few years ago, bless him, outside the West Brom ground. Old fella, he had a heart attack, lovely fella. And mate, our police officer turned up the funeral, everything, But they're retiring. They've done their time now, a lot of these coppers. They've built up that maybe relationship with the lads or whatever. Some of them are arseholes, some of them were really. Our one, he was good as gold, mate. You know what I mean? And they'll always do their job if it comes push to shove, but they're a different breed, and I think we're sort of getting to the bottom of it, aren't we? Really?
What was the story you told me, Mike, when you went to some police course and the old Palace cop was there? What did he say?
Right, I was on a course in London. I joined the police. I'm on a course. Come out of the classroom to go to the loo. As I'm walking down this long corridor, I see this bloke, and I'm rattling my brains. Where do I know his face from? Where do I know his face from? And he's looking at me, and he realises it's me from Crystal Palace, the same person who threw me out and all that, dragged me out. And his words were, "How the fluck did you get in the job?" I said, I took your advice, because he was one of the guys who said you will get blinking locked up one day if you don't go in the army or something like that. I said, I took your advice and went in the army. And he was a good bloke. We spoke, and he's long retired now. He's in Kent.
My brother's just mentioned him with Ginger, wasn't it? Remember the Ginger? That's what we're talking about, Dave.
That's right, yeah. I'll never forget him. I will never forget him. He saw my face. I saw his face. It was comical.
Yeah.
Two more elements of that interview was it's a bowl so everyone can walk around it and gather and everything else. Again, it's not terracing. I've stood in it at Tottenham. You must have, Mike. You know, it is literally, it's safe seating. And as some of the comments that have come up, one of them, I can't. Whoever made the comment, absolutely, I think it was Leonard. Surely more dangerous. He's absolutely on the money. You know how dangerous that is standing in front of a seat. I've seen guys. I don't know how we don't have lots of broken legs. I've seen guys going over the seats and all sorts. You know, a lot more. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's it. You know, so in actual fact, if it the nail on the head, there's a comments just come up on the bottom of the screen. You know, it's probably going to reduce the chance of any violence because you can't get anywhere.
That's right.
You know, you're gripping the bar, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think the main reason the police, maybe not that clown you're talking about, but they do on this safe standing, you've got a designated seat, is they can know exactly where you are, who you are, and pick you out. That's their main reason behind it. It's not standing, is it?
Absolutely, and I think one of the things about atmosphere in grounds has been lost because of allocated seating. The only way you'll ever truly get back to a level of atmosphere that you used to get, even more than having terracing back, is actually unallocated seated areas where people can congregate in, you know, because that's how it used to be. If you wanted to get in where everyone was making a noise and having a knees up Mother Brown and all that, you got to get in the ground a bit earlier to get in the middle, you know, and it would fill up and fill up. That's why the COP was so big at Liverpool, you know, why that was. And allocated seating stops everyone coming together, and that's your biggest problem. Although, you know, I don't know how that would work. The other last comment I want to pick up on this is he said about, you know, fans that go, families and all that. Well, they might not want to go in an area where they're standing up. Oh, that has got to be the most bizarre comment of the lot, actually, because that is the club will allocate an area. It will be the choice of the person to go into that area. It's not going to be a case of family. You know, if you're going into Block Z, listen, people, it's a standing area. Right, I understand that and accept it.
There was family stands, Gal, years ago. You had a family stand.
Yeah, but
no, my biggest, look back to Hillsborough, tragic, horrible event. But that was down to, well, we know now, bad policing, mostly, channeling you in. We know the subject. Even Isle, that should never have been, that stadium should never have ever held in a tournament. And they should never have banned standing, ever. It was like not an overreaction because loads of people lost their lives. But I went to Sweden about 4 years ago to watch Hammarby play, and it's the newest ground in Stockholm, and they've got standing. But there's loads of bars, and you've got your own little pods. About 20 of you can get in. You can't, sir. You're not going to get picked off your feet and moved down because there's bars everywhere. But it felt like you're in a football stadium. Yeah. You can see, you can move around. You know, it can be worked. It can be done.
I know this has been investigated. If else, Hillsborough didn't happen because of terracing. Hillsborough happened because of bad policing, bad ground management, a poor poor design, by the way, that Leppings Lane end. I don't know if you've been there, but it's one tunnel that takes you in. That's where most people died, by the way, in the tunnel. Right, they've got one tunnel that takes you into that whole end. And more importantly, the fencing. That was fencing everyone in.
Absolutely.
It wasn't the terrace, it was the fencing, it was the tunnel, and it was the bad management by the police and Hillsborough themselves.
You speak to Tottenham fans. I think they had a semi-final a couple of years before against Wolves, or might be wrong, but a lot of the fans there say that game said, I thought I was going to die. It was like amazing how there weren't any fatalities that day, but they still had finals there. They never listened to the fans.
Yeah.
It was.
No, it was bad. Listen, Dan, we've got to move along quick, but fair play. I've had an email from one of your brothers, Gary, and he just wanted you to know, please do this extremely quickly, yeah? Because we've got to move on. He wants you to quickly reminisce about, was it Man United away in 1989?
God, what was that? Leeds away?
Leeds away. Hang on. I'm going to have to go. Bear with me. Oh, mate, I've just said I want it done quick, and I've just absolutely monged this up. Hang on, and now I can't even find it. Oh, mate, Gary, if you're listening, mate, I've messed that one up for you. I do apologise. But he wanted you to reminisce over a game in 1989. It would have been an FA Cup game away.
Yeah.
I thought it was Man United. Anyway, I'm sure we can reminisce another day.
Yeah. I'm probably glad we're not.
Really want to thank you, everyone, for getting involved. So please, I want to encourage that. Neil McDonald, a couple of years ago, back when we played Scummers, that'd be Southampton. Neil being a Portsmouth fan, they pulled the police in from 4 counties to police it. It was like Beirut. Back in the day, the police would have known, the top people and wouldn't have needed to have that amount of police. I think, let's close this off. I think it's fair to say there are a number of factors behind why we believe policing at football's deteriorated. One is the calibre of police officer now being recruited. The men at the top clearly have highlighted that interview, don't have a clue, absolutely clueless. Anything else you want to add to that, Mike, before I move on?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. Recruitment is completely changed. New calibre of police officers, even the senior, higher senior echelon within the police have changed dramatically. A lot of people are coming in from corporate companies who were probably managing directors and stuff like that, coming into the rank of superintendent, and it's wrong. They have no idea about policing. It's sad, but
it is, and it's the wider world, and again, I guess people like us necessarily aren't welcome at football. Anyway,
I'm probably classed as old and bitter, but I'm not. It's sad.
No,
it's
you
sad.
like modern football, mate. So I'm right there. You're not going to get away with that with me. No.
No, I don't like everything about it.
Just to finish on the safe standing as well, I'll get your last comments on that side of it. For me, I brought this up in an interview on UK Casuals. For me, right when they said they were going to do this, I said it's a seat with a bar in front of it. It isn't terracing. It isn't going to bring back what you old school people think it's going to be. Yes, it will benefit certain clubs. I know West Ham had a lot of trouble where they weren't allowed to stand up. Well, if they want to stand up, they'll be able to go into an area and stand up. So there is a benefit for some clubs, but it isn't terracing. It will never be terracing, and it will never bring back. If you want terracing, go lower league and non-league.
Exactly. That's why people are switching to it, aren't they?
That's right. Yes.
Right. Okay. What we got time? We are really rapidly running out of time. However, do you know what? We've covered off what I said. We've covered off the FA Cup. We've had a great chat with you, Mike. We've covered off policing. We've covered off safe seating. Other than last comment from you on safe seating before we just move on to any relevant news, Mike, from you, safe seating. Your opinion?
Safe seating.
Oh, sorry, safe standing.
Safe standing. Will it change things? Not that much. You'll have a good laugh. You can have a good laugh in there, but you go to any ground up and down the country. Like I saw Saturday in the Homestyle at the Palace, I saw 90% of people standing up throughout the game. So is it going to change? No,
nothing.
Not at all.
Dan?
Yeah, I think you can have standing again, and it can be safe. Don't have to be safe seating. Have standing that's safe, and it can be done the right way. Then they got the money to do it. These big clubs, it's a load of bollocks, basically.
That's it. Yeah, it is a load of bollocks. Let's just say it as it is. It's a load of bollocks. Right. Okay. Just want to touch on some relevant bits and bobs. Just want to also remind everyone next week's show. We've got Gary Clark on, a.k.a. Boatsy, Nottingham Forest, but more importantly, Colton Town FC. What they're doing at this club that play in the Northern Premier divisions is amazing. It's admirable. And if there's anyone out there who's putting a lot of effort in supporting and helping, I mean, what Gary does there for the club is amazing, and we'll hear a lot about that next week. But anyone else out there that's doing a lot for their grassroots football clubs, want to come on and have a bit of exposure, drop us that email which is getinvolved@properfootball.co.uk. Get involved at properfootball.co.uk. I think it's at the bottom of the screen. Thank you very much, Paulie Simon. Want to bring up one subject for you guys to have a little chit chat about. It's been talked about a lot today. It's relevant from today. So the FA and the Irish FA were going to be putting in a joint bid for the 2030 World Cup. They are now shying away from that and going to put their efforts into bidding for the Euros in 2028. And the reason for this is that they've been talking to the football world and have pretty much been told you're wasting your time. It's very risky. And countries plough millions and millions and millions of pounds just into their bids. My first reaction was, wow, it just sums up modern day football, Mike. But anyway, it confirms my thoughts. What's your impression, Dan?
Well, it'd probably go to North Korea or somewhere, wouldn't it? Just like it's gone to Qatar for this one. It'll go to the people who pay the most money. It's pointless us wasting our money in it to do this big, cost millions, like you say, to get it. But Qatar should never, I'm not going to get another subject now. Qatar should be never happening.
Well, that's a subject we'll bring in another week because we're not fans of the World Cup going to Qatar. Just to add to that for you, Dan, it's also that America, obviously, and Mexico, who are hosting the 2026 World Cup, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Or the next one, is it? 2026.
And Canada, isn't it?
Have guaranteed FIFA, you ready for this, $15 billion in revenue. They've guaranteed, Mexico and America have guaranteed FIFA $15 billion in revenue. Now, America held that World Cup in 1994.
Yeah.
We've not held one since 1996, and we're being told, don't even bother going to the other one.
To one World Cup in '66 we had, wasn't it? One World Cup. Other countries have had it 2 or 3 times. And
yeah.
And we're ready for it. We've been ready for it for years, haven't we? We've got everything set up. And the fact
we've got the best football infrastructure in the world. There's no ifs or buts.
And the best
stadiums,
best product.
Roads,
and also they couldn't wait after the Euro final when everyone jibbed in and it was a bit of a disaster. But they couldn't wait to clamp down us, ban us for a couple of games. They hate us, FIFA, don't they? For some reason, they UEFA, whoever it is, we just seem to be. I don't know. Maybe we don't offer them enough money. Maybe we don't accept the brown envelopes. I think it's.
You've hit the nail on the head, Dan. You've taken the words right out.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, your opinion, mate.
We're not going to get it. We'll never get it here. They won't. They don't. For some unknown reason, they don't want it in the UK. They don't want it in the UK at all. Will we pay money for it? I can't see us paying like, as you've just said, America, etc., and Mexico. It's not going to happen. It probably won't happen in my lifetime anyway.
No. They go with the money. They're talking about spreading the world of football and Qatar. Let's get it out in that part of the world. But there's spend millions on empty. There'd be white elephants when it's all done. It's just you're right. They don't.
Yeah, Graham O'Neill said Mexico's already had it twice. Yeah. America will have it now for a second time. I think Germany have had it a couple of times, haven't they now?
Yeah, France.
Yeah, Germany have, yes.
74 and was it? Just having a look through. We're getting some fantastic feedback. So, Mike, Dan, brilliant tonight. Just so everyone, we were aiming for the shows to be an hour, and we're realising, no, we can't get it all in an hour. And we want to be able to be a bit more relaxed and a little like we are having these chin wags and all that. And clearly people are enjoying it and getting some fantastic feedback. And so we are now going to go with a football theme and do 90-minute shows. We are thinking about introducing a halftime break, which would be a a piece of music from a band, an up-and-coming band, unsigned band, that is relevant to football. As you know, me and Dan were heavily involved with Away Day Radio, and we dealt with a lot of bands, all relevant to football, by the way. Many of them, Skinner Brothers, Millwall, you had the Skylights, Leeds, Section 60 Sheffield, Shed Project with Bolton, you know, and so on and so forth. Mirror Pictures, Reading, you know, and some great bands out there, fantastic bands. Andrew Cushion, Newcastle, great talent. So we're probably going to do an half-time interval of the 90 minutes and promote people from the football community that are trying to make their way in the music industry, because that is a tough going for them, you know. And there's some fantastic bands that are definitely football related. And a lot of these bands, Marcus Drive is a mixture of a lot of West Midlands clubs, and they've got a track called Pride. It's all about football. You've got Skinner Brothers have done Away Days. Section 60. Well, we all know what a Section 60 is. And, you know, there's... So massive.
It's all part of the culture, isn't it? Football
culture that breeds music through these bands. Yeah. So that's the aim for the show. Again, you know, getting more and more people involved and everything else. Today's been brilliant. I mean, it's sort of coming of age maybe a little bit. We've had great interaction with people. We want that to continue. If you're watching this and it's Friday afternoon, don't bother putting a message up because it's not live. It will only be live on a Thursday at 8 o'clock.
Gail, I was just going to say, like we're making it 90 minutes, going to have an half time. I might get a row, like a safe standing row for me to have.
Well, mate, I'm having a look around now. So I find something, mate. Next week, right? Next week, Gary. I know you're watching, mate. I'm afraid you're going to have a safety row, and we're going to have safe standing. No, but seriously, Mike, you've been fantastic guest.
Thanks very much, Ed.
Fantastic. And I'd like to think you'd be interested in coming on again.
Mate,
I'd love to chat football.
I'd love to, you know, so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But thanks very much, lads, for inviting me on. You know, it's been
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And we chat football, good and bad. We'll have our opinions. Our opinions will push the boundaries sometimes, but that's why we're doing this show, because every show you see these days is so PC correct that you know. So this is about the fans' voice. So Gary Clark, loads of safe standing at Colton Town. Well, I'll tell you what, they're away this week. I think they're away to Coleshill this week, and I'm sure Gary will give us some of their fixtures up and coming. If you want to visit, I know he gets people along. They get ex-Forest players down there. The Cass Pennant goes along quite regular to there now. So they're getting some wonderful support. It's an amazing story, and I can't wait to hear more of that next week. If you want to check them out, again, like I've already said, it's carltontownfc.co. Website, carltontownfc.co.uk.
It does wonders for the community, stuff like that, the local community, doesn't it? Them local long-knee clubs.
Yeah.
Brings everyone in, doesn't it?
It brings people in, and, you know, and hopefully I would love to hear from a lot more people. When Gary does his show next week, you'll hear the amazing work he does. And I'm not blowing smoke up your arse, Gal, but seriously, you do. I see it all the time with the information you send me. And hopefully there are a lot more people like that out there doing this, because we talk about cocaine and all that. It's a society problem and stuff like that. You know, for me, the loss of youth clubs and stuff like that has had a major effect on our youth. They're too busy chopping people's heads off in games on the TV. You know, maybe, just maybe, this resurgence of grassroots football just might help society as well, and encourage children to come in and be a bit more involved in community activity, because they all love football, you know. And then maybe, I don't know.
Sorry, I was talking to a friend of mine who was a pro footballer, and he was talking about the same thing about grassroots football, how it, you know, takes people off the streets, you know, gives them something to look forward to. You know, he I know he goes. Listen, do you remember Mark Walters played for Liverpool?
Brilliant player,
yeah, he's a good pal of mine. And you know, I know Chris.
Well, there's another one we could make a little list here, mate.
I know, you know, I know another good mate of mine, Chris White, who was at Arsenal.
Yeah,
he's doing a lot. He's still doing a lot for grassroots football up in North London.
But they get the youth get peers though, don't they, Gail? They get peers. You get involved in a club like that, and you get people look up to you. You get role models, don't you? You get which people ain't got. A lot of young kids in different areas, they got the wrong role models, haven't they? They got the.
Sorry, I didn't miss out.
Mark Walters played for Bristol Rovers as
well. I missed that out. Sorry. That was,
mate, you've got your head in modern day football, so I understand, you know.
Was it under eights, was it?
Well, we've pretty much done our 90 minutes. I just want to thank everyone who's got involved. Mike, you've been absolutely brilliant. Dan, as always. Last thoughts from yourself, Dan?
No, great show. Looking forward to the FA Cup this weekend. Turn over Millwall and then see we get in the fourth round, hopefully. I'm going to regret that anyway.
Well,
you're all right. You got your Millwall flu. Last thoughts from you, Mike.
You know what? Thanks very much for the invite on here. Brilliant. Regarding football, I'm like Dan. I hope we turn Millwall over. I'm going. I just don't want to blink and go out there all dejected. You know what I mean? Especially when I've got to go back to my mates who are in the army, who's follow Millwall as well.
Yeah.
One of them, he's got a box at Millwall. He says to me, Mick, when you come in with us, are you having a laugh? No way. I'm going to go and shout my head off first.
Just going to finish on one note. What a small world we live in. The gaffer at my local boozer, the Crown at Wellingborough, served with Mike in the army.
Oh, Marky G.
Yeah, Marky G.
Marky G. I could tell you stories about him, especially in Northern Ireland. What a legend.
When life is more normal, hopefully, I think he said you might pop up and have a drink.
I'm going to go up and see Marky.
And I'll make sure I get in there as well. So,
look forward
small
to
world, that, isn't it?
I look forward to that. Yeah, we served together, him and I.
Yeah.
We served in.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up. It's been a great show. We love football. We don't necessarily all love what the modern game has brought, although the football it's brought just for you, Mike, is lovely.
I won't live that down,
this is what the show's all about. Please support proper football. We've got plenty of platforms out there, Facebook. We stream live on YouTube. We will be doing possibly in the new year, later in the year, some YouTube specials. So please support us and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And of course, we stream live on Twitter. That's it. Next week, Gary Boatsy Clark. All the best, everyone. Dan, Mike, love you both. Thank you very much.
See you, Mike.
See you soon. Ta-ra.
See you, Mike.
Cue Simon.